Good morning, everyone. This is Brad Langley, Senior Vice President of CrowdComms Americas, and I'm delighted to be here coming to you from Suwanee, Georgia, our U.S. headquarters, and I'm joined today by Matt Allen, our CEO. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time. This is great. For event advice, topic today is something that I noticed instantly when I joined CrowdComms. And it's only been reinforced with every customer interaction that we've had, with every interaction I've had with my fellow colleagues at CrowdComms. And it really stems from the fact that in the SaaS world, that we have another difference when it comes to how we partner with companies. SaaS is, in many cases, you deliver the technology and a SaaS provider's done at that point. That's like, okay, this is turnkey, you turn it on, you run with it, it's your car, have a good day. At CrowdComms, that's not the way at all. And I've noticed that, and our customers, more important, our customers have noticed that and acknowledged it to me. And I'm just curious, from your perspective, how have we created that as far as our people, our spirit, and our culture at CrowdComms, which really underscores and is the foundation of everything we do every day of the week?
I think it comes down, it's good that you've picked up on that, Brad, because it's really important to us. It comes down to understanding the pressures that people are under when they're running events, the complexity of their event, having empathy for how they feel. And that comes, you create that empathy, you enable or allow that empathy by firstly recruiting the right people who understand what those pressures are. So if you understand it, if you've been there, you look at Tori, who you've got here in the States. Tori has been agency side working on the face of the event, dealing with the nitty gritty, the complexities of it. So she understands how that planner feels. And that understanding enables empathy. And that enables you to go, what do I need to do in this moment to make sure that I can benefit that situation? So you recruit the right people. And then you empower them. You enable them to make decisions, to take risks without judgment, okay? And that means that you give people freedom. Give them a bit of freedom to do what they're good at because you've recruited the right people. And the other thing is that you make sure that everyone understands the complexities of each other's role internally. And so you do that with a developer, for example, you send them on site. Go on site with Tori. You're an engineer in the software team. You're building the on-site badging. Head out there with Tori. Go and do some jobs. See what it's like when you get a queue of 20 people. How does that feel? We need to get them through. What's your tech actually going to do?
But Matt, how do you do that? And I've seen that with our dev team. I've seen it with our product team. I've seen it with our finance team. How do you do that while you're still trying to operate a business and develop the product and grow the product? I mean, aren't you sacrificing something by sending them on site for a program?
No, because it accelerates the product. It accelerates. Once you really understand it, you can get to the solution quicker. If you really see a problem in situation, what often happens with software is the first iteration is 20 miles away from the final solution, okay? And that's because the problem hasn't fully been understood. Now, the problem can only be understood if you get out there and you see it firsthand. And that's a developer. Have a developer talk to a client. We talked about this earlier on, and we talked about the terminology in terms of having those middlemen, the dilution of the message. Get them out there, seeing what that problem is, understanding the pressures, and then they're going to get to that solution quicker. So having them out on site, it accelerates the feature.
But are you ever afraid they're going to say the wrong thing to a client?
Well, I think you always have a Tori, a Tom, a Kim, a Joe leading that project because that's their specialty. They're on site there and they're managing it. The engineer is there to support and to work alongside. And often we you put your engineers in a corner somewhere, and that's not
That's,
what our
that's what
engineers
most
are.
do.
Our engineers
That's,
do not need to be kept in a corner. Our
I would agree,
engineers
but
can go out there and mix it with the best of them socially and obviously are very technical, but they've got great human skills, great emotional intelligence as well.
I've noticed that. I've noticed that, and I've asked myself. I'm like, wow, our selection and hiring process must put them through different tests that really reveal that, because it is amazing. I would have no problem introducing any of our engineers, anyone in our entire company to a client, and be proud of that. But I'm just curious, what's the magic formula there? Because I've come from environments where that's not always been the case.
Well, you're not giving them freedom. You're not, if you trust people, you give them freedom and then they learn from it. And you don't, burden people with the doubt of getting it wrong. So if, whoever it might be joins a call and they do say something wrong, but you're not going to be bitten afterwards. They're going to be, we might say, look, next time when you ask that question, just bash it back to me. Let me take that one. And so you guide people in terms of how future calls might go, but when there's no bashing, that's not how you build a project-led kind of culture.
You're exactly right. In fact, I was on a call myself just the other day with our commercial director, and I made an error because I was new. And he didn't bash me at all. He corrected me to the client to make sure the client had the right information, and we just moved on. And there was no, after the fact, there was nothing. It was just, okay, here's what we can do. But that is at the cultural root of service, basically. And that's what I love about being here. But how long has it taken to really get to this point? Because that doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't happen overnight, and I think some people's concerns are as you grow as a business, and we've obviously gone from 4 people to best part of 100 people relatively quickly, that it's difficult to kind of retain that kind of culture. But you get there, and you ensure you get there by operating in the same way with your team as you do with your clients, and that's honesty and integrity. If there's something that's troubling you, if there's something that's challenging, you communicate why it's challenging and why you've got to do it. You don't hide from it. You don't try and protect people, because these are adults. They don't need protecting. They need the information. They need to know where you stand. When we have our company updates, it's laid bare. This is where we are. This is what we're doing. This is how we're performing. This is the information. That's the key bit. It's honesty and integrity that is at the heart of how you deal with your own people and the core principle of how you deal with your clients. If you do that, it's not difficult, it's not murky, it's not complicated. It's just a basic principle of how you should do business.
You're exactly right, but a lot of other people don't necessarily do it that way. And I would say, as CEO, you set that standard. It starts there, and then it's mirrored through the entire leadership team, and then through every employee in our organization. And what I love about it at CrowdComms, one team is not better than the other team, higher or lower than the other team. Everyone's input is equally valued and appreciated.
Well, they are equally as important.
Yes.
A great product enables us to position and sell, but we do not sell and retain without a great support team that manage it. Everything has to work in harmony for it to be successful. It sounds a little bit as though we're suggesting we're getting everything right. We certainly don't. We've got a huge amount to do, and we're constantly evolving and constantly learning, and I'm constantly putting my foot in it and thinking, come on, I've got to do that differently. But one thing that you will guarantee is that we will do the best that we can in that moment for our people and for our clients.
Well, and that's great, because really I've said my entire life, no tech is perfect, and things happen with tech. It may not even be within our control of our code or something. It could be an external factor impacting the tech, but our people and how they respond in that moment makes all the difference. How do we cultivate that service responsiveness with our people? What do we do to stress test or pressure test that so they're capable of responding in that moment?
Well, you make sure the first thing is you stress test because we're super busy. So it's,
That's a good problem to have.
We've just been through a period of time where we had, I think in June we had twice the number of events this June that we had in June the year previous. So you're stress testing as a necessity because you're busy, because you're growing, okay? So that's happening. But the way that you ensure that you don't have errors in that time is that people that are new to it are supported. They're shadowed correctly. They're onboarded in the correct way. They understand what good looks like because they're seeing it from their peers. If you do that and you make sure that they are supported well, then you get the outcomes. And like I said, it's that principle of doing without fear. Go for it. You've got this. You've got it. Trust. And you'll get there.
And I think that's important because that's the core nucleus of really being a good event tech partner to our customers, our agencies. Because if you don't have it together internally, how can we expect to deliver proper service to our customers?
Yeah.
And really, I think that sums it up beautifully. And I just want to say thank you because I see it exhibited day in and day out at CrowdComms with everyone that is part of the team here. And you really do feel part of the team. So I just want to say, please give us a call and experience what it's like to deal with a partner that really believes in their team members, allows them, empowers them, and really they take a risk and they make sure and empathize with what you're going through. And we would thank you for joining us today. Make sure and subscribe and like us on YouTube. That means a ton. And come visit us in Suwanee, Georgia. You're welcome anytime. Thank you, Matt, for joining us today. This has been very insightful. Great takeaways.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Brad. Thank you.